Wife had too much fun at a bachelorette party. Hey, true story. I've been sitting on this story for a long time, but I think sharing it might help me get it all out, and hopefully some guy out there will hear it and avoid going through the same nightmare. This is part one of my story. If you're interested, I'll send in part two, which is when everything really hit the fan. But this first email is how it all started, how I met my ex, how I ignored my gut instincts, how the red flags were waving in my face, and how it all led up to the infamous bachelorette party where she had too much fun. I'm not some professional skier or anything like that, but one winter, a buddy of mine convinced me to join him and some friends for a weekend trip. I grew up in the Midwest, so snow wasn't new to me, but I was never into skiing. Still, I figured, why not? I was awkward as hell that weekend, tripping over myself on the bunny slopes while everyone else seemed like naturals. But one night we all went out for drinks at the lodge, and that's where I saw her. She was with a group of girlfriends laughing, the kind of laugh that made everyone turn their heads. She had long brunette hair, deep brown eyes, and this confidence about her that made her stand out from everyone else in the room. She noticed me staring. Yeah, I was that guy. And instead of being weirded out, she came over and introduced herself. Let's call her S. From that night, we were inseparable. She told me she wasn't much of a skier either, and we joked about being the worst ones on the mountain. That weekend turned into exchanging numbers, then texting every day, then visiting each other. She lived about 2 hours away, and before long, I was hooked. She was beautiful, smart, and funny, and in those early days, she really did make me feel like I was the only guy in the world. But here's the thing, true story. Looking back, I ignored so many red flags. She had this group of friends who were basically party girls. You know the type, always talking about the next trip to Vegas, always drunk in their Instagram stories, always with some guy hanging on their arm. At first, I brushed it off. I thought, she's with me now, so it doesn't matter what her friends are like. But the truth is, friends reflect a lot about who someone really is. Her best friend, we'll call her Kayla, was the worst of the bunch. Kayla was the kind of girl who everyone in the city seemed to know, and not for good reasons. She used to dance at a club downtown, and she was notorious for being reckless. Even S admitted that Kayla was wild and not marriage material. Everyone had a turn with Kayla, and it was one of those open secrets. She'd show up to parties half drunk, flirt with anyone breathing, and then laugh it off like it was all just fun. From the beginning, I never liked her. I didn't like how much sway she had over my then girlfriend, and I sure didn't like how often she inserted herself into our relationship. Anytime S and I had plans, if Kayla called, suddenly S would be torn. She always chose me, but not without guilt, tripping herself into saying stuff like, I feel bad. Kayla really wants me to come out tonight. I'd tell her, she's not your boyfriend. She'll survive one night without you, but it always felt like a tug of war. Despite my gut feelings about her friends, things between S and I moved fast. After about a year, I proposed. I was 28 at the time, had a steady job, and felt like she was the one. She said yes, and we started building a life together. Now, when we got married, I made it clear her friendship with Kayla needed boundaries. I wasn't trying to control her life, but I didn't want my wife taking random trips to Vegas with a woman whose entire life revolved around partying and hooking up. And to her credit, S actually agreed. She said, you're right. Kayla's my friend, but I know she's reckless. I wouldn't want to risk what we have. That gave me a sense of peace, at least for a while. For most of our marriage, she didn't hang out with Kayla one-on-one. They'd meet up for brunch, here and there, but I never saw them going on trips together. It was a relief. Then came the Bachelorette Party. Kayla was finally getting married, something I honestly didn't think would ever happen. When S told me, my first thought was, to who? And how long is this going to last? But I kept those thoughts to myself. I knew it would just start an argument if I voiced them. When she said she was going to Kayla's bachelorette party, my stomach dropped. I had a bad feeling right away. The party was in another city at a rented Airbnb near a big strip of bars and clubs. Basically, the perfect storm for disaster. I asked her, "Who all is going?" And when she listed off the names, I just shook my head. Every single one of them was a party girl. Some were single, some were in relationships, but always cheating, and none of them were the type I'd trust with my wife in a different city. I wanted to say no. Every part of me wanted to tell her not to go. But here's the thing. I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to be controlling. I didn't want to be the insecure husband who doesn't trust his wife. So instead, I swallowed my gut feeling and told her, "All right, just be careful." She promised me it was just going to be drinks and dancing, that she'd check in, and that I had nothing to worry about. But deep down, I already knew. The week leading up to the party, she was acting different, more distant, but also more excited. She spent extra time picking out outfits, shopping for lingerie for fun, and talking about how it was going to be just the girls. I tried to play it cool, but inside, I was uneasy. I remember telling one of my buddies, "I don't like this. That whole group of girls is trouble." He told me I was overthinking it. "She's your wife, man. She married you, not them." And maybe that's true, but I think every man listening to your channel knows that feeling in your gut when something isn't right. The night of the party, I drove her to Kayla's house where they were all meeting up before heading out. I'll never forget standing there watching her walk up the driveway, suitcase in hand, while the other girls were already drinking in the yard. They were hooting, hollering, blasting music and screaming, "Bachelorette weekend!" like they were still in college. I sat in my car for a minute after she walked in, and I just felt off, like I was sending my wife into enemy territory. I didn't say anything. I didn't stop her. I just went home, cracked a beer, and tried to distract myself with a game on TV. But the whole night, my mind was racing. What were they doing? Where were they going? How many drinks was she having? Was she thinking about me at all? And the worst part is, I stayed silent. I didn't want to nag her or ruin her night, so I just sat there, waiting. That true story is where part 1 ends. I'll stop here because this email is already long, but in part 2, I'll tell you exactly what happened when she accidentally called me from that party. Let's just say, silence wasn't protecting me. It was killing me. Thanks for reading. I'll be back with part 2 soon. All right, so if part 1 was the slow buildup of all the red flags, the ignored gut feelings, and me trying to convince myself everything was fine, then part 2 is the point of no return. It's the part of the story that still replays in my head even now, years later. This is where my marriage fell apart in real time. After I dropped her off, I went home and tried to relax. I cracked open a beer, turned on the TV, and told myself to stop worrying. But every few minutes I'd pick up my phone and glance at it, waiting for a text from her. Around 10 p.m., she sent me a quick, "We're here, love you," with a picture of the girls in their matching sashes. She looked beautiful, I'll admit it. She had that glow about her, but the kind of glow that didn't sit right with me. Like she wasn't glowing for me, she was glowing for the night ahead. I texted back a simple, "Have fun, be safe, love you too." But after that, silence. As the hours dragged on, my anxiety grew. Midnight came and went. I texted her again, "Hope you're okay." No response. By 1 a.m., I started pacing around the house. I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Every instinct in me told me to get in the car and drive down there, but then I'd talk myself out of it. "Don't be crazy, Andy. She's at a party. She's fine." It was around 2 a.m. when my phone rang. At first, I felt relief. Finally, she was calling me. But when I picked up, There was no "Hey babe" or "I miss you." Instead, what I heard made my stomach drop. It was chaos on the line, music blasting, girls laughing, and then unmistakable sounds, the kind of sounds no husband should ever hear. I froze. My heart started racing. My hands went numb, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. I put the phone on speaker, and clear as day, I could hear my wife, having sex. At first, I didn't want to believe it. I thought, maybe I'm hearing things. Maybe it's the TV in the background. Maybe it's someone else. But then I heard her voice, her laugh, her moans, her saying things she had never even said to me. It was like my entire world shattered in that moment. I sat there, phone on the table, listening in disbelief. I don't even know how long the call lasted. It felt like forever. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. When the call finally disconnected, I just sat in silence. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't even throw the phone across the room like you see in movies. I just sat there staring at it, completely numb. All I could think was, this is it. This is the end. When I finally fell asleep, it was probably closer to 5 a.m. I woke up a couple hours later to a text from her. "Good morning, babe. Crazy night, LOL. I'm so tired." Crazy night. Yeah, no kidding. I didn't respond right away. I just stared at my phone, wondering if she had any idea what she had done. Did she even realize she called me? Did she know that I knew? Later that morning, she called me. She sounded cheerful, almost giddy. "Hey, babe, we're just getting brunch. How are you?" I wanted to scream at her. I wanted to ask her how she could do this to me, but instead I just said, "I'm fine. How's brunch?" I don't know why I held back. Maybe I wanted to catch her in a lie. Maybe I wanted to give her enough rope to hang herself. When she got back from the trip, I picked her up from Kayla's house. She looked tired but happy. She kissed me on the cheek like nothing was wrong. On the drive home, I couldn't take it anymore. I asked her, "So, did you have fun at the party?" She laughed. "Yeah, it was wild. Lots of drinking, dancing, typical girl stuff." I nodded. "Anything else happen?" She gave me this look, like she didn't know where I was going with it. "No. Why?" That's when I pulled out my phone. "Because you accidentally called me, and I heard everything." Her face went pale. She stammered, tried to deny it, then tried to spin it. No, you must have heard wrong. It wasn't me. Maybe it was one of the other girls." But I stopped her. Don't insult my intelligence. I heard your voice. I heard you." That's when she broke down crying. She started with the excuses. "I was drunk. It didn't mean anything. I don't even remember how it happened. It was a mistake, I swear." But none of it mattered. Once that line is crossed, there's no going back. I told her, "You didn't just cheat on me. You humiliated me. You let your reckless friend drag you into this, and now everything we built is gone." She begged me not to leave her. She said it was just a one-time thing, that she'd cut off Kayla forever, that we could go to therapy. But I was done. The weeks after were brutal. I filed for divorce immediately. My family was shocked. Her family tried to defend her. She made a mistake, Andy. Don't throw away your marriage over one night. But I stood firm. One night might not mean much to her, but it meant everything to me. She tried to win me back in every way possible, crying, threatening, promising, even trying to seduce me. But my heart had already turned cold. The image of that night, of those sounds over the phone, was burned into my mind forever. The cheating itself hurt, obviously, but what really broke me was how preventable it all was. I knew from day one that Kayla and her crew were nothing but trouble. I knew this party was going to be a disaster, and I stayed silent. I thought I was being a good husband by not being controlling, but in reality, I ignored my instincts, and instincts are there for a reason. The divorce went through fairly quickly since we didn't have kids. Splitting assets was messy, but I didn't even care about the money. I just wanted my freedom. When it was finalized, I felt like I could finally breathe again. It wasn't happiness exactly. It was more like relief. Relief that I didn't have to look over my shoulder anymore. Relief that I didn't have to wonder what she was doing when she was out with friends. Relief that I could finally start to rebuild my life without the constant anxiety. It's been a few years now. I've focused on myself, my career, my health, my peace of mind. I've dated a little, but I'm not rushing into anything serious. I know better now. I'm still cautious when it comes to women and their party girl friends. If I see those red flags, I don't ignore them anymore. I've learned that you can't change someone, and you can't expect them to rise above the people they surround themselves with. The day the divorce papers were finalized, I walked out of the courthouse with a strange feeling. You'd think I'd feel devastated, but honestly, I felt lighter. Almost like I'd been carrying a backpack full of bricks for years and finally got to set it down. I remember sitting in my car, staring at the steering wheel and just breathing. I didn't even turn on the engine for a while. I just sat there, letting the reality sink in. I'm free, I said out loud to myself. I'm actually free. Of course, the freedom came with a lot of baggage, memories, anger, disappointment, and that little nagging voice in my head asking, how did you let it get this far? But still, it was freedom. After the split, I moved into a one-bedroom apartment. It wasn't fancy, cheap carpet, creaky floors. The kind of place where the neighbors fought loud enough for the whole building to hear. But it was mine. At first, it was lonely, too quiet. I'd come home from work, unlock the door, and be greeted by silence. No one asking how my day was, no dinner waiting, no arguments either, just me and my thoughts. I bought a couch off Facebook Marketplace, a mattress from a discount store, and a TV. That was it. My entire life fit into that small space, and as bare as it was peaceful. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I went through a long anger stage. I was angry at her, obviously, for betraying me. Angry at Kayla and her whole circus of friends for being the kind of people who destroy marriages for fun. Angry at myself for ignoring every warning sign and letting it happen. There were nights where I'd sit on that ugly couch, drinking whiskey straight from the bottle, replaying the phone call in my head, the sounds, her voice, the laughter in the background. I'd clench my fists until my nails dug into my palms, but anger can only fuel you for so long before it burns you out. One day, a buddy of mine dragged me to the gym. I didn't want to go. I just wanted to wallow in my apartment, but he insisted. You need this, he said. He was right. The gym became my therapy. I poured all of my anger, all of my frustration, all of my loneliness into those weights. Every rep was me pushing back against the pain. Every drop of sweat felt like I was wringing the poison out of my system. I wasn't in great shape when I got divorced. Stress eating, drinking, and depression had taken their toll. But over time, I transformed. I dropped fat, built muscle, and started to feel strong, not just physically, but mentally. People started noticing. Coworkers, friends, even strangers would say, "Man, you look different. What have you been doing?" And I'd just smile and say, "Working on myself." One of the biggest lessons I learned was that you are who you surround yourself with. My ex-wife surrounded herself with people who didn't respect relationships, and eventually she followed their lead. So I did the opposite. I cut off anyone toxic in my life. Friends who only wanted to party, gone. Family members who told me to just get over it without really listening, distance. I focused on building a circle of people who actually lifted me up. Guys who worked hard, took care of themselves, and respected loyalty. People who wanted the best for me, not just someone to drink with on weekends. It was hard at first. Cutting people off always is. But it gave me space to breathe and rebuild. Eventually, I dipped my toes back into dating. I'll be honest, it was awkward at first. Online apps felt like a circus, and I didn't know how to sell myself in a bio. My first few dates were disasters. One girl showed up late and spent the entire dinner talking about her ex. Another one admitted halfway through the night that she was kinda still married but separated. Yeah, that was my cue to leave, but I kept trying. And while I haven't found the one yet, I've had some good experiences. More importantly, I learned what I do and don't want in a partner. I don't care about looks as much anymore. I care about character, about who someone is when no one's watching. And I'll never again ignore red flags. Here's the funny thing about divorce. It strips you down, but it also gives you a chance to rediscover who you are. I picked up hobbies I'd dropped during my marriage. I started hiking again, playing guitar, even took a few weekend trips just for me. No one to answer to, no compromises, just me doing what I wanted. I also started journaling. I'd never done it before, but writing down my thoughts every day helped me process everything. Sometimes it was angry, sometimes it was hopeful, sometimes it was just random observations, but it helped me get out of my own head. A few months after the divorce, I ran into my ex at the grocery store. She looked tired, stressed, not like the girl I remembered. She tried to make small talk, asking how I was doing, and even had the nerve to say, "You look good." I kept it polite but distant. "I'm doing fine. Hope you are too." And then I walked away. Inside, I felt a mix of emotions. Part of me wanted to gloat, part of me wanted to scream at her all over again, but mostly I just felt nothing. And that's when I realized I was finally healing. Looking back, I see my marriage as a hard but necessary lesson. It taught me, trust your gut. Those instincts are there for a reason. Surround yourself with good people. Friends can make or break you. Don't lose yourself in a relationship. Keep your hobbies, your friends, your identity. You can survive betrayal. It feels like the end of the world, but it's not. Today, I'm in a much better place. I've got a stable job, a body I'm proud of, and a peace of mind I didn't think I'd ever get back. I've got close friends who I trust, and I've got goals for the future. Buying a house, maybe starting my own business, and eventually, when the time is right, finding a partner who's worthy of the title. I'm not ashamed of my past anymore. It happened. It hurt, but it shaped me into the man I am now. If I could go back and talk to my younger self, the guy who thought finding the one was the ultimate goal in life, I'd shake him by the shoulders and say, "Man, stop looking for validation in women and start building yourself up first." Because the truth is, if I had focused on myself earlier, I probably would have avoided a lot of pain, heartbreak, and wasted time. Let me start with the young version of me. I grew up thinking that the pinnacle of success was getting married and starting a family. That's what everyone around me pushed. My parents, my extended family, even friends at school. They all acted like your life only had meaning once you had a wife and kids. So, from my late teens into my 20s, my goal wasn't become the best version of Andy. My goal was find a girlfriend, make her happy, and get married. I was the guy who bent over backwards to keep a girl interested. I'd cancel plans with my buddies if she wanted to hang out. I'd spend money I didn't have just to impress her. I'd ignore my own goals if it meant making her feel secure. Basically, I was a people pleaser, and women could smell it on me. Looking back, I realized I was putting women on a pedestal. I treated relationships like they were the ultimate prize in life, when in reality, a relationship is supposed to be a bonus, not the main mission. When I met my ex at that ski resort, I was already primed to ignore red flags because my priority was secure a relationship. She was beautiful, charming, and fun. Did I overlook the fact that her circle of friends was toxic? Yep. Did I ignore her own admissions about her best friend being reckless? Absolutely. Why? Because I wanted the dream. I wanted to be the guy who could say, "Look at me. I've got a wife. I'm on track. I've done it." My value was tied to being chosen by a woman, not in who I actually was as a man. And that's why I let myself walk blindly into a disaster. As much as it hurt, The divorce was the slap in the face I needed. It forced me to look at myself in the mirror and ask, who are you without her? What do you bring to the table as a man outside of being someone's husband? And for the first time in years, I didn't like the answer. I was out of shape, working a job I didn't love, with hobbies I'd abandoned, surrounded by people who drained me. My entire identity had been wrapped up in being her husband, and without that, I felt like nothing. That realization scared me, but it also lit a fire under me. That's when I got serious about self-improvement, not just hitting the gym, though that was a huge part of it. I mean working on every area of my life, physical. I committed to fitness, not to impress anyone else, but to prove to myself that I could be disciplined. Every rep in the gym was me reclaiming my strength. Mental. I started reading again. Books on psychology, finance, self-growth. Instead of drowning in Netflix and beer every night, I fed my brain. Financial. I tightened my budget, saved aggressively, and paid down debt. I wanted financial freedom, not financial chains. Spiritual, emotional. I journaled, meditated, and spent time alone without distractions. I got comfortable with silence and solitude. Slowly, I started to feel like a man again. Not a boy chasing validation, not a husband living in fear of what his wife was doing on a girls' night, but a man who knew who he was and where he was going. Here's the kicker. Once I stopped chasing women, once I stopped making them my goal, I noticed something wild. They started chasing me. When I was needy, when I was desperate to be someone's everything, women could sense it, and it turned them off. But when I started focusing on myself, building my body, my mind, my finances, and my confidence, suddenly women started noticing. It wasn't even about what I said anymore. It was about how I carried myself. The energy was different. I wasn't asking them to validate me. I was already validated by my own growth. That's when I finally understood what older guys meant when they said, women are a byproduct of your success. If I'm being honest, I regret wasting so much of my 20s chasing relationships. I could have spent those years leveling up, building wealth, traveling, learning skills, and shaping myself into the man I am now. Instead, I spent them trying to hold on to a woman who was never really good for me, ignoring my gut, and tying my worth to whether or not I was married. If I had put that same energy into myself, I'd be 10 steps ahead of where I am now. But here's the thing. Regret is only useful if you learn from it, and I've learned. Now I don't see relationships as the goal. My goal is to be the best version of Andy possible. Strong, disciplined, financially free, at peace with himself. If the right woman comes along and she adds value to my life, great. But if not, I'm still good. Because my life isn't on hold, waiting for a partner. It's moving forward regardless. I've stopped letting family or society pressure me into thinking I need to be married by a certain age. I've seen too many guys rush into marriages they regret just because they thought they were supposed to. Not me, not anymore. Of course, that mindset hasn't been easy around family. At every holiday, I hear the same questions. So, are you dating anyone? Don't you want to settle down again? You're not getting any younger, you know. At first, it annoyed me. Then it frustrated me. Now I just smile and say, I'm working on myself. That's my priority right now. They don't get it, and maybe they never will, but that's okay, because I'm not living my life for them. I'm living it for me. The biggest change isn't even physical or financial. It's internal. It's the way I see myself now. I used to think, I'll be happy once I'm married. Now I think, I'm happy because I'm growing. I used to think a wife will complete me. Now I think, I'm already complete. A partner would just be a bonus. That shift in mindset changed everything. What I'd tell my younger self. If I could go back, I'd tell 21-year-old Andy, don't rush. Focus on building your body, mind, and career. Travel, explore, and live life. Don't chase women. Let them come to you when you're ready. Most importantly, don't give your heart to someone who hasn't earned it. I'd save him from years of pain and wasted effort. But since I can't go back, the best I can do is live by those lessons now and maybe share them with someone younger who still has time to adjust. I wish I had realized earlier that the most important relationship I'll ever have is with myself. But I'm glad I know it now, and I'll never again let a relationship distract me from becoming the best version of me. Thanks for reading, and thanks for giving guys like me a platform. Andy.